The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Now that, for most of us, the blizzard of 2026 is behind us, it's time to take a look at some of the things that happened during the past week in terms of how we dealt with the storm, how we survived the storm, and I guess best next steps for what would happen to us if we ever get another storm. Hopefully not this winter. Let's wait till 2026, 2027 to get the next storm. One of the big things that was very instrumental in the city dealing with this storm was an application created by a Fall River resident called FRPlowed.cc. It was a map that you may have seen that had the map of the city, and people could actually input into the map whether their street had been plowed or not. I'm pleased to be joined today by the creator of that app. He is Matt Medeiros. He's a Fall River boy. Matt, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk about it.
Well, before we get into the app itself and how that all came about, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background here in Fall River.
Yeah, so originally grew up in Dartmouth, moved to Fall River, I don't know, about 15, 18 years ago, something like that. Father of 3 young boys. They go to Tansy. And yeah, it's been an exciting ride through this app. But the background is in sort of technology. Ran a WordPress agency for many years. I have multiple podcasts about WordPress and other technology. And when this sort of cropped up, I was like, oh, what a perfect time to put some of this this tech background together with sort of like this open source nature of helping people. So yeah, it came together pretty well, I think.
So, you obviously last week at this time, we were all just bombarded over the storm. I'm sure you were as well. What were your thoughts about, hey, this is a pretty bad storm, and I guess you started hearing rumblings about, streets aren't getting plowed and the issues the city was facing. I guess what was your personal experience with the storm, and how did this maybe translate into the next steps of creating this app?
Yeah, so my kids were on winter break for the previous week, and then when the storm hit on Sunday night going into Monday, my wife was like, I think the kids are going to be home for a couple of days. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, they're going to be home all week. So I need to figure out something to get them back to school faster. But it was one of those things where it's just like looking outside going, there's no way this is going to get cleaned up. And everything aside of like, managing the stuff in the city and all that, like this is just a massive storm. Where are you going to physically put all of this snow? And I'm sure like everybody else was just sitting around going, this isn't going to get cleaned up anytime soon. We didn't get our street cleared until probably like Wednesday night-ish. Tuesday night, I saw some folks on Facebook talking about, wouldn't it be great to have some kind of list that the city distributed to see what streets were getting plowed and not plowed. That was sort of like the genesis of when the idea came about.
So, just with your expertise, how did you put this app together? And it was done within, I would think, hours. I mean, I believe it was Wednesday or so that it started coming out and people started to use it. How did it all come about? How did you develop it?
Yeah, so it was it was Tuesday night headed into Wednesday, and I actually saw former Mayor Flanagan post something on Facebook like, wouldn't it be great if we had this list? And I've never talked to him before. I don't have any connection with him, but I was sitting here and, of course, AI and all this fascination around technology lately is sort of the in the headlines all over the place. And, I have a technical background. I work at a software company full time, and I sort of took to using a little bit of AI with my, knowledge of building software and product. Like, let me just get something out the door as fast as possible. This isn't something that, we were going to fine tune and get all the features and all the bells and whistles out the door all at once. And I knew we needed to get it out as fast as possible and as easy as possible, but also with like the most impact. So I kind of made it with using something called Claude Code, and I was building it out. Yeah, probably about about an hour and a half, and I shot it over to Will Flanagan in a DM, and he shared it out. I just said, "Hey, I built this. You asked for it. I built it." And he just shared it. And then it started to take a life onto its own where folks started to use it. And it was an interesting ride to see folks starting to use it, to start seeing the map light up. And went to bed and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like some people are using it. Then I woke up in the morning and I saw that the police Facebook page had recommended it. And that's when it was just starting to really go sort of viral, I guess you will, and with people using it and sharing it on Facebook and screenshotting it, and actually using it as a tool, to get through this snowstorm. It was a wild ride that Wednesday morning.
And putting it together again, you just put it out there, and as you said, people started using it. Well, was there any requests? Because I remember, when I first saw it, you had, it was green or red, right? You had the red, the streets that were not plowed yet, people inputting, my street hasn't been done yet. Green was streets that were done. Then there was later in the week, there was additive gold that sort of like the city sort of verified. Did you have to tweak it at all to add that gold? I guess, was there any other tweaks that you needed to make?
My DMs were real interesting
I can imagine.
those couple of days, of people being thankful, of people criticizing, of people like filing the complaints with me to like, why isn't this street do it? So, going into it, the easiest way for me to do it as fast as possible was like, hey, pick a street or put your street in. And it was sort of majority rules. So 100 people on a street. If 51 people said streets plowed, 49 people said not plowed, it would flip to green in sort of like this voting fashion. And then you could come back every hour because obviously the street's going to be plowed at some point and the status is going to change. So sort of built in the mechanism to say you could vote once per hour. So you couldn't just, hammer it. And you could come back to like sort of change the status of that street. And then I saw I started people like really complaining and not really understanding the majority rules system, which is fair, for really long streets in the city. Obviously, there are some that are miles long where it would be clean on one end, not clean on the other. So I updated it to pinpoint. If you shared your GPS location with the app, it would put a pin how you voted, either, green or red. And that way it would show up at least on a collection on one side of the street where if you're saying it's not plowed, but the street is green, at least there's some kind of data. There's some kind of information there that says this side is still not plowed, so that hopefully the city could see it. Eventually, JT Hoare reached out to me. I used to work with him many, many years ago at a tech startup here in Fall River, and started interfacing with him to say, hey, how can we make this a little bit better for them so that they, as the cleanup process started, that they could log into the back end of this and mark this verified for the city. So I worked with JT to build that little feature where the city could come in and say, okay, it's been verified. We verify it, and then they check it off in the back end, and then it turns that street to gold, as to say, okay, we verified this. This is clean. But I obviously still had the app where you could still vote on whether or not you thought it was clean enough, to up to whatever your standards are. Because again, streets are very long, so there could be this, miscalculation that it wasn't completely cleared. And that was on the top streets section of that. So at any point, you could go to the top streets to see which of the top streets being voted for in a period of time, 1 hour, 3 hours, 12 hours. So hopefully the city could see that. I didn't talk to anyone else in the city. No one else reached out to me, for input or to change anything. I'd be open to that discussion if they did, but yeah, we started to implement some of those features that I know JT and the police wanted. And then East Providence and Somerset reached out and they just DM'd me on Facebook and they said, hey, we love this too. And then I spun it up for those two towns and cities to help them as well.
Yeah. How does all this work make you feel? I mean, it was not a huge investment of your time. Obviously, you were like the rest of us. We were at home for a good part of that week last week. How rewarding was this for you and did you expect this type of response?
I certainly didn't expect this type of response. It was not on my bingo card that this was going to happen. But it was, it was great. I mean, it was great to be able to help out in sort of my own way. I mean, obviously the people that are out there doing the work and the drivers and the plow drivers and, everyone else that came in and emergency services. I mean, those people are out in the snow doing the critical heavy lifting. But to help with a little bit of technology and a little bit of data to help the city out was really gratifying. It's it's interesting seeing some of the comments come in of people either disliking it or discouraging the use of it, but that's that's the internet. I've kind of been used to that, been doing that for a very long time. But it was great to sort of like give back at the capacity that I could give back at, and especially being stuck in home. And again, like a lot of this stuff, I encourage folks to try to learn on their own. This isn't something that I think is supremely special. I think with AI and a lot of the technology we have moving forward, that a lot of folks be able to solve or create solutions like this for problems that communities have.
Are there any expectations that this can be used again? I mean, obviously, we're still traumatized by what happened last week.
Yeah.
But in terms of moving forward, opportunities to expand upon this, if asked.
Yeah. Again, the other two towns actually want to talk to me. I had another city reach out to me that they want to set up a meeting this week to figure out how they can implement it. It's one of those things where it's interesting, like when you see this stuff roll out, that this type of software or this type of technology wasn't available or isn't available to cities, I guess, at hand. I mean, I understand every city has a different solution, but it was kind of wild to say that there was no kind of emergency map system like this where they could relay citizen information to the town and officials. I did a lot of research over the weekend to find out what other solutions were out there, and yeah, I mean, there are some, but a lot of them are costly, and they all don't work the same way. So, kind of interested to see what will happen next with this.
Yeah. No doubt about it. You made life in Fall River at least a little bit easier for some in terms of people who were able to input their information and also ending up helping the city to sort of pinpoint where things were. So kudos to you and your work. And Matt, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me.
The biggest feedback I've been getting next is potholes. How can we report potholes?
Oh, that may be a bigger problem to try to solve, my friend.
Thank you.
In a city like Fall River. All right, Matt, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks.